King Arthur Legends Rise is a turn-based RPG which is coming open beta on the 28th of March, so it is out right now on mobile, on Android and not iOS at the moment unfortunately, and it is available in specific regions only. So for right now it's available in the USA, Singapore, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand and Ireland and Hungary. So I'll put the names up here. This game is being developed by Kabam Studios, which is owned by South Korea's Netmarble. The loop I have in the background playing is just their introduction trailer to the beta, but I'll get into some gameplay shortly. Some of the other games you may know them for: Marvel Contest of Champions, Shop Titans and Disney Mirrorverse. These aren't exactly small games, especially Disney Mirrorverse, so it is a company with a good amount of experience behind them, so it should be a pretty promising title. This game is coming soon to PC via Steam, though right now it is not available. So with that, let's have a look at the game. Currently the game does not work on BlueStacks. I've heard it has worked in the past, but right now it doesn't. So currently I'm mirroring it from my mobile device, which is a Google Pixel 6, so it seems to be working just fine. Have a quick look at the options menu. For now we'll just put everything up to the maximum. We'll leave the sound as it is, we'll leave the language as it is, and let's get into the game. I won't link my account just yet because maybe there's some re-rolling that will be worth doing. And this is the start of the game, so normally you'll of course drag with your cursor and you can run. When we're starting any game, the first thing you do is you run backwards in case there's any goodies, but I need dad apparently, so there's nothing behind you. That's good to know. Well, that's not allowed. Simru. Okay, so they know the Welsh origins. Okay, that's a slightly less Welsh origins. It's always cool to see some British mythology. King Arthur is of course mostly Welsh. He's not entirely English as you tend to see him portrayed, but it doesn't really matter. The graphics are pretty decent, they're quite sharp. This game is using Unreal Engine 5, so we should expect to see some pretty good graphical fidelity, especially around the lighting. Unreal 5 is known for their Lumen system. I've had a lot of fun messing about with it in the past. I'm very interested to see what they're able to utilize in a mobile device. So right now I'm just doing the introduction tutorial. Obviously there's going to be a lot more to the game when we get to it. From my prior knowledge, this game should play similarly to Raid Shadow Legends, Summoner's War, typical turn-based RPG kind of gacha games where you're collecting heroes and from the developer's perspective hopefully spending a lot of money. I'll be very interested to see how friendly this game is to free-to-play, but that will take some time to figure out. Alright. Creepy. Very creepy. Alright, let's see this chick. Yeah, she gets right up in your face. That's really creepy. It kind of reminds me of House of the Dead. I think that's really cool. Ooh. Relax. We're good. Alright, I've been playing the game for a bit over an hour now. Let's collect everything I can and then let's do some summons. That's a pretty big part of any of these games, right? And I believe it's a good thing as well to go to the shop in Standard to make sure that you get your free summons from here. And I think you can buy a daily summon pack as well, so that's quite worth getting. Lake Avalon with the Lady of the Lake. A nice bit of mythology there. The one, of course, who King Arthur gives his sword to. So hopefully she can give me some good stuff. The artifact system is really cool. You can basically equip these on characters to change the element that they attack in. You can change it just before you fight, which is really cool. I like that system. It allows you to have more customizability of your heroes, so big fan. So the way you summon in this game is you pull the sword up, which is quite cool. I'm not sure how the colour or the animation or how you're supposed to know. Very thematic, isn't it? They're really putting a lot of focus on the lore and the mythos around it, which I think is really nice. I like that a lot. It's very flavourful. Got old Andrew here. Who's this gentleman? Jack. I'm just not used to seeing these kind of names. These names are too pronounceable to be Welsh. Ted. Ted the Necromancer. Love the animation of the gauntlet reaching for the sword. I think that's really crisp. Really nice looking. This guy is a strange looking fella. I'm pretty sure he's not a Knight of the Round Table. Tarzahadan. Tarzadan? I'm getting the pretty boys today. Wow. I'm going to start a boy band of all these lookers. Rolo. Alright. He's almost Souls-esque, isn't he? I'm going to go for the monster party, it seems. I'm really getting the monstrous fellas, aren't I? Maul. Razor-edged frost discus. Oh, that looks promising, right? That looks very promising. What is this? Oh, I got a legendary Diana's Heart. So I didn't get a character. It was really cool the way he pulled with two hands though. Animation was fantastic. But yeah, I'm guessing that's a really cool thing I got. That's actually a lower rate than the heroes. Wow, so maybe I got something very rare. Ooh, hello. It's not an ugly guy with many teeth. Well, I got a legendary, so I am chuffed about that. I have no idea how this works. Oh no, a relic obtained from acquiring a duplicate Arthur relic. So I got my only pull was a duplicate? Really? That's disappointing, isn't it? Unfortunately, the game has been updated and my APK is no longer working. We'll need to wait for another one to come out if you wish to play outside of the listed regions. So for now, I'm just going to cap the video off by giving you my first impressions. I played King Arthur Legends Rise for about 2, maybe 3 hours at a push, and so far the game is promising. There are things about it that are quite cool. There are things about it that I really don't like. So to start with the pros, I think graphically the game looks fairly decent and promising. I think since it's still in beta, I think there's a good chance it will be improved, as there are some things that aren't quite right. Some of the designs are a little bit bland as well, so I'm hoping to see a bit more improvement on that. But generally, I think the graphics are quite cool. I think these cutscenes look great. It's just kind of nice to have the intimidating flair of the enemies appearing. Some of the other pros of the game, I like the artifact system of your weapons. Being able to change the element of your weapon, I think, is a really good benefit. It seems to have some really cool looking bosses as well, which I think is really important for these games. It's nice to feel like you're actually fighting a proper boss and not just a recolored enemy. So I like some of the design choices. I also quite like how the campaign and the story missions seem to work. You kind of navigate your character around, running around between objectives and fighting, rather than just the typical world map where you click next all the time, stage 1, stage 2, etc. So there's a bit more effort and thought gone into that as well, and probably there'll be a bit more puzzles and more involving challenges as we get further into the game. I think the summon animation is really cool as well. There's just a nice little touch there, and I quite like the setting using, you know, ye olde Britain and King Arthur and kind of Welsh naming and all that stuff. I think it's kind of a nice difference to what we're used to in this sphere. So moving on to some of the negative aspects of the game. I know I mentioned the design being quite decent earlier, but I think it's kind of a double-edged thing. I think it has the potential to be really good, but at the moment, a lot of characters are just humanoid shapes, which is kind of bland. In these collectors, I like to have really creative monsters and all kinds of different, you know, eldritch horrors and whatever else you can come up with. So I would like to see a bit more creativity with some of the character designs going forward. There also isn't a very big hero pool to begin with, so you are quite limited in the heroes that you can have in a team. One of my biggest concerns with the game is that gear requires silver to be removed, which I think is an incredibly poor decision. I really hate that system. It's something you may be familiar with if you played Raid Shadow Legends, and for me it's one of the biggest reasons why I'm not keen on Raid. The idea that players have to spend resources to just change equipment around is absolutely diabolical, and I really don't think it has a place in modern gaming. Punishing players for wanting to experiment and to try things out is just never a good thing in my opinion. Additionally, it seems like the turn order can't be skipped, so even though this seems to be a turn-based RPG, I believe that heroes are going to go a fixed amount of times in a turn, as far as I understand it currently. I don't think there's a speed system so that you can lap enemies and have multiple rounds before they do. I think it is actually round-based, which seems to be very unintuitive considering how most turn-based RPGs seem to function. So I'm not very keen on some of those decisions. Generally, I think the game has a good amount of promise to it, but in its current state, I don't think this is going to be breaking any records or, you know, overthrowing Raid or any other big titles. I think it still has quite a long way to go, but I think it will probably be worth following in its development and seeing what happens next. Anyway, this is just my first impressions. I've only been playing the game for a few hours, so undoubtedly there is a lot that I'm missing out on and I haven't fully understood. I'll be very interested to see where the rest of it goes, but I will be waiting on an updated APK before I can do that, because obviously I am playing from England and we are not in one of the listed available countries. So if you've been playing the game, let me know what you think. I'm sure there's plenty I'm not aware of yet. I'll probably try it out for a bit more before I give my final thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. Have a lovely weekend. Take care and bye-bye.